Good afternoon, Mr. Ferrari. This is Terrence Williams. I'm doing the narration for our fourth week assignment, last and final project. You asked that we give you a keynote on the financial statuses of Gemstar Production by using the statement of cash flows, balance sheet standard, and the profit and loss standard. In this slide here, in this slide presentation here, just introductory slide telling you who we are. This is Gemstar Production, and this is our weekly production control meeting. On the next slide, this is the company's sign-in roster for the production control meeting. The company manager should be there, Mr. Bob Jim. The chief financial officer, Mr. James Starr. The accountant, Mr. Terrence Williams, and all department heads and supervisors should be there as well. And these names are not official names. These are just made up names and title to kind of give you an idea of the importance of the people that should be at the meeting. On this slide here, this shows the 5 internal controls that I'm going to discuss with the company managers, and we'll start with number 1. Weekly production control meeting. There are meetings that are designed to give managers a weekly update or the company production, and they are informal in an informal setting and open forum for accountants, managers, and department heads. And at this meeting, this meeting will be to discuss the financial records, financial transactions, make sure that there are no discrepancies in the transactions, and this is a chance for all managers to come clean and explain any discrepancies that they find or see in their departments. Okay, my number 2 internal control is daily revenue recons. And what that is if we're using cash transactions, checks, credit cards, or something of that nature, we need to have some type of computer program that can track all our cash and credit card transactions or any type of monetary transactions, where a manager by password, they can go in and do recons, and it'll show reconciliations of all the cash transaction that's been made and the employee that made those transactions. We also have cash handling procedures. During the cash handling procedures, this is where we review cash handling procedures for employees weekly for security and the handling of financial assets. In other words, anyone that's handling cash, they should have to sign out a key for key control. They should be able to access the safe with a secured PIN number that only the company can give them. And this PIN number will allow them to access the safe, and it'll give date and time when the safe was accessed and a date and time when they locked and closed it. It's just a way to track, and you can print a report from the computer showing who actually accessed the safe and then what time what time it was accessed, as well as from a cash register or some type of process, or whatever type process that they are using to accept cash. We also got number 4, which is semi-annual audits. And these audits are internal, which is done by the company accountant and some, maybe a couple of his assistants or someone that's in the financial realm of the company. These audits are done by the company manager to semi-annually to prepare for the annual external audit, which is done by a company that's not affiliated with Gemstar. In other words, when you do a semi-annual audit, that's where you're supposed to catch the mistakes. You should have a policy and procedure book from your external auditor showing you what they will be looking for when they come to audit your company, and the processes that they will be using, so that you can kind of set your company up and have the same processes that they have. Background check for all employees. It's just a tool used to get an idea of any behavior or unknown behavior of employees. and it's usually conducted by the company managers. Background checks are very important. It kind of gives a history of what's in a person's background. It's a good way to make decisions on what positions that they can, have inside the company. Um, um, Access control, a level of security, in other words. The first sheet that we're going to look at is the profit and loss standard for Gemstar. As you can see, they netted an income of $1,833 for the month of November. Um, they had a lot of the total income was for $8,400 for the month, but with the expenses that they had about $6,566 in expenses. So the income for the month was right around $1,833. The next slide that we're looking at is a statement of the cash flows. On this slide, it pretty much just tells you where you're getting your cash from. Um, Basically, it shows you what cash you have on hand, how you received it, who it came from, and also it shows you the investments that you have, such as the truck, and if you had purchased some land or anything that has some type of value to it, all this will be shown on this statement of cash flows. Also, it shows your financing activity or any loans that you have, and disposable cash, maybe some type of investment by one of the owners or so. On the next slide, you have the balance sheet standard. And what that does is the balance sheet standard, it just lists the assets, and the owner's equity pretty much. It shows you, how much, cash that they have, any type of deposits. It shows the value of the supplies that you have on hand, because those are considered assets once you purchase them. It also gives you a list of the liabilities, and it sums all this stuff up to kind of give you the total liabilities and the equity that the company has at that time. You asked us to mention some of the terms that we learned this month. I know what the GAAP is. That's the General Accepted Accounting Principle, and that's pretty much the principle that all CPAs have to use when doing accounting practices with companies and so on and so forth. Also, learn the correct definition of a budget. It's just a detailed plan that pretty much outlines the future, and an explanation of what you're doing and what you're spending your money on. And I also understand the definition of a debit and a credit. I know now that a credit is recorded, when an asset and expenses are reduced, and when liabilities increase. So in other words, if you owe somebody, that's like a credit. So yeah, and it's vice versa for a debit. A debit is when assets and expenses are increased and liabilities are decreased. In other words, to explain it better, if someone owes you money, and once you receive that money, it's like a debit. To kind of give you a couple of more profit and loss, standard is just a performance of the business, over a period of time. And it's just a statement that everyone used, to kind of go back and look. And, one of my main internal controls was the production control weekly meeting. And that meeting is designed, just like I say, to get everybody together to discuss these three important, reports that we can get from our QuickBook. Balance sheet standard, statement of cash flows, profit and loss standard. And those reports are very important to any company manager. They can be ran at any time. He can sit down and look at them. But if you schedule a production control meeting weekly, and it'll kind of keep him abreast of what's going on weekly. to summarize it, as of right now, just, with the numbers that we have, our company assets are at about $66,500. We have about $44,700 in liabilities, which give us, a net worth of about $21,800. Some of the ways that the company can increase, its assets is, the company can, increase its total assets by possibly decreasing some of its expenses, preferably a portion of its utility costs by going energy efficient is an example. Some of the cost of the supplies is another example, and decreasing the salaries by decreasing overtime. If you got employees that's getting more than 40 hours a week, you know, you've got to figure out a way to cut that time back, and that'll save the company money as well. You can also reevaluate the insurance costs for the maximum effectiveness and efficiency of the insurance to make sure that you're not paying for something that you don't really use or you don't have. I hope I summarized this class up fairly well. I have enjoyed it. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the callbacks, during the time that I was struggling. I appreciate it. If any other questions, you can, reach me at 478-288-7197. Thank you.